Hello, welcome to this fourth film in my Conducting Fundamentals series. Today we're going to be looking at how we hold the baton and then doing some basic baton wielding exercises. Roughly speaking, there are two ways to hold a baton. One is with your arm in a hand-shaking sort of position. One is with your hand in a basketball bouncing position. Some people will tell you that one or the other is superior to all other forms of holding the baton. I wouldn't agree with that. For example, Max Rudolph in his Grammar of Conducting book suggests that both can be used and that one can indeed swap from one to the other at times. I would very much go along with that. However, for the beginning, may I suggest that we go with the former, the hand-shaking position. In order to show you where the baton goes, I need to turn the hand over, but I'm going to turn it back again in a moment. The end of the baton, where I've got my bit of cork, will go roughly at the bottom of my middle finger, pointing across the index finger, so round about where the first joint of the index finger is. And then that finger and the middle finger will slightly wrap round the baton and the thumb will fall onto the top. It won't hardly at all touch the ring or little finger. Let me just go over that again. So I've got the baton roughly at the end of the baton rather, roughly at the end of the middle finger, going across the index finger, and then I'm wrapping both of those fingers slightly round the baton and then completing the hold with the thumb on the top, and I'm now turning my hand back so that it's in that hand shaking sort of position. The sort of place to have the arms is roughly in a sort of diamond shape. So you're something like this, or perhaps one could call it a tree-hugging shape, perhaps. With the baton back there, it looks something like this. Please also note that my arms are not here, into my side. My elbows are in front of me and slightly up. Not significantly like this, so that I'm resting on water, but not into the side at all. And slightly forward from me. Not so far forward that that I'm going straight in the arm here, but certainly not so far back that it's almost at 90 degrees. Something like this. The other thing, please to note, is the position to which the baton is pointing. It's pointing roughly over first horn's head. It isn't straight in that manner, and it isn't straight in this manner either. It's both tilted this way and tilted that way. The reason being that gives the best possibility for the musicians in the orchestra to see the baton. This or this will have the potential for cutting out sight from some of the orchestra. Okay, so having given a sort of basic idea of how we're going to have the baton, let's look at some exercises which will essentially be to do with seeing that all the joints of our baton holding hand work in a well-oiled manner. Now, I carefully said baton holding hand there rather than right hand, as I have, because some of you may be left-handed. I had a left-handed student who conducted very successfully with his left hand. I have a friend who's a very good left-handed conductor, and there are examples of very good left-handed conductors around the world. Not very many, of course, but they are there. So if you're strongly left-handed, please don't be put off. Please swap round and put the baton in your other hand. However, if you're somewhat ambidextrous, I would suggest you do use the right hand. Books, videos, tutorials and so forth tend to simply go with the right hand being the baton holding hand, and it'll be much easier for you in the long run if you are to do that. Okay, so back to those exercises. The sorts of motions that you make when you're conducting are composed of two types of line. One a fairly straight line and one a curved line. Of course, these occur all over the place, but we're going to practice these in our basic exercises. The first thing I want you to do is actually, without the baton, is just to swing your arm from left to right across your body and to really feel that it's swinging. I don't want you to control the arm. Here's me controlling the arm. It really does have a bit of a stiff feel now that I'm controlling it. I've lost that control now, and I'm just trying to let it swing like a pendulum. While you're doing that, feel the acceleration as your arm comes down to the middle of your body, and then the deceleration as it goes beyond. Now you can do that with the baton in your hand as well. Again, feeling that acceleration and deceleration, and also remembering to check your posture, that you're standing well with no locked knees or anything of the kind. Okay, that's just a bit of a warm-up really. The next thing I want to do is to go down a central line, an imaginary line in the middle of your body. So the baton is going to come from here down, like that. Down. Way back over the top of your head, and coming right down, probably hit you in the knees. Roughly the tip of the baton is going down the centre of your body. So if I did that in slow motion, I'm around about here as the baton goes down. Okay, let's just do that again, and we're just going to get that smaller. At the moment I'm using all of my arm, but I'm going to make this smaller, smaller, so that I'm actually only now using my forearm. You can check that by just touching your upper arm. Don't hold it, no need for that, just touch it and you'll be able to tell if it's moving or not. I'm using my forearm, and you'll also feel that your wrist, it's not moving like that, of course, but it is very gently moving up and down. Check that that is happening. You don't want your wrist to be locked. Okay, so we're still doing this line down the centre of our bodies. Now we're going to do a line acrossways, this way. Now this line is not going to be directly facing me like this. It's going to be on a plane which is around about there. I may be exaggerating slightly. So if you were to imagine that the end of your baton was a pencil that you were drawing with, you would be drawing on a piece of paper which was in this sort of angle, at this sort of angle here, not at this sort of angle. Okay, so when we draw this line acrossways, we're going there. Okay. Now I can draw that a little larger. My arm will go around both to the right and left of my body slightly. Again, make sure that your wrist is not stiff and is allowed to just slightly move. You'll particularly notice it at the end of each line. Good. So we've had up and down lines. We've had side to side lines. Always keep stopping. Yeah. Do a little bit, stop, check that your baton is in the right position, that you're holding the baton well, that you're standing well. The more you do that now, the better it will be later on, the less you'll have to do stuff like that later on. Now we're going to do some curved lines. Those were fairly straight lines. Now we're doing some curves. The first one is reasonably low down, drawing again with the tip of the baton a large smile across the front of your body. Although of course it will again be in that sort of slightly oblique plane. Okay, so make it a nice smile. Good. Then with the next ones, we're going to come back to our imaginary central line, and we're going to draw a little smile on this side, so a sort of half-size smile. Then we're going to draw a half-size one on this side. So here we are on this side. This will just be the forearm. And then I'll do it on the other side. Just checking here that my upper arm is staying pretty nice and still. Of course, a very good thing to do is to put a mirror on the wall directly opposite where you're conducting and watch yourself conducting, and you'll be able to see all of these things really easily as well. It's a useful way to check what's going on. Okay, so we've done a little smile on one side, a little smile on the other side. I'd like you to go back and just do that smile with your wrist. So your forearm is now not moving, or your five arm, as Victor Borger would say. Good. And then finally we're going to do another curve, but this time the curve is going from here up to the top, on this side and on this side. Okay, so let's start here. In fact, we'll start at the top, and we'll go down and up, and down and up, like that. Again, let's just do it with the forearm, and then let's close it down to only do it with the wrist. And then we'll do it on this side of the imaginary line. Okay, so we're using the forearm. I think I was getting a little bit of upper arm in there as well. Don't worry if that happens. Okay, so that's our forearm motion, and then I'm going to touch my forearm just so I can see that I'm doing this now only with the wrist. Now, all of those motions you can do in a very free sort of manner, but then it's worth doing them at different speeds. So just think to yourself, slow, medium, fast, perhaps. I wouldn't suggest you put a metronome on yourself. You may well be doing that at a later point. So at the moment, let's deal with this in just a fairly general sort of way. But you can do each of those motions, the big swing, the down and up the central line, the across line, the smile to one side, the smile to the other side, and then the sort of going up the slope on one side and up the slope on the other side. You can do all of those at different speeds. Now that's just a collection of little basic exercises, both to get you warmed up and just to start on some of the basic motions that you use in conducting. You can use these for a little while perhaps, a few minutes, 5 minutes a day, 10 minutes a day. Even if you're starting to do other conducting things at the same time, it's a good way to start off your practice.